Dragons, everyone knows they're the strongest and the baddest of the bunch when it comes to any mythical story. Being the wisest among all species, they are the most feared creatures ever to exist, so much so that people look up to them like they're literal gods of destruction, while others go as far as to offer their own children as sacrifices in their name. This story revolves around a horned boy named Norn who is dazzled to have finished making his beautiful scarf. Impressed by what he's done, he's eager to see his parents' reactions. Apparently, they're not as excited as him, as they call him with a loud roar asking for him to come out. The boy quickly rushes to get to his family, both of whom aren't humans, but dangerous dragons. Norn comes outside and apologizes for taking his time. Catching his breath, the boy quickly realizes that they're supposed to train again as part of their routine. His father, the dark dragon Vogs, is a mighty beast, while his mother is the majestic holy dragon Horror. Both dragons are happy to confirm that they'll be training. Now these two are the strongest dragons known to exist in this era. While Norn was nothing more than a sacrificial offering from the humans, Vols grabs the little boy and zooms him across the skies for training while he's screaming for his life. No matter what species they are, there his parents hovering over the skies. Vogs questions how many years it has been since he became a part of the island. With his tiny fingers, the boy recalls that it's been exactly 12 years, realizing that it's finally time for their training to take another step. This mad dragon literally drops its child from the sky. I mean, look at Norn's face here. The little guy's soul is screaming. His father tells him that from tomorrow on he'll live on his own in the world of humans, which is quite the surprising turn of events. Norn is perplexed and can't even digest the thought of living amongst the humans. Keep in mind that this dude is still falling from the sky. He doesn't get why he's being punished to live amongst the humans when he didn't even try leaving the island once. Besides that, all he's good at is typical housework and sewing like the red scarf he made. There's also the traumatic training he went through with his father, acquiring some of the breath attacks of dragons. Then he learned many things from his wise mother, who taught him dragonic language magic too. Bro is falling down and complaining about his upcoming new life. He still thinks he's not ready for the things he's learned. Norn plummets the ground with a large quake, which makes me feel like this dude goes through it every day. As he picks himself up from the ground, he can't help but confess how humans are so strong and capable they can severely damage even the dragons. That's why, despite being the son of mighty dragons, he's afraid of going into a territory where humans with monstrous abilities exist. He wants and begs his father to let him stay on the island for a while longer, but the dark dragon is ruthless in his calling and roars him shut. His mere roar incinerates the ground and cuts past the hill right next to Norn, making him realize that he nearly up. Vogs reasons with the human child, claiming how humankind eventually allows their offsprings to blossom into adulthood by becoming independent from their parents. With that in mind, the dragon believes that Norn will be all right navigating by himself in the human world, but Norn can't bellow or digest the thought of becoming independent by himself. It's not like he has a choice, though, since his parents have already figured out what's best for him. The dragons decide to help him prepare for his journey. They want to offer him a valuable object that they stole from God a very long time ago. It's called the Otherworldly Bag, and it basically has infinite storage capabilities. Vogs also gives him a mighty sword that was so strong it hurt him in a battle a long time ago. The weapon is named the Excalibur, the mightiest of all swords. With his luggage prepared, Norn still can't stomach the fact that he has to leave like this, but his dragon parents seem to be okay with his absence. He tries to see if they'll let him stay, and it turns out both of them are just unwilling, leaving this poor boy on his own. Norn thinks for a moment and tells them to wait for a moment. He comes back with a beautiful red scarf that he made for his parents as a means of showing them respect for the way they have treated him. He doesn't have anything else to offer besides a cute smile, thanking the dragons for raising him and looking after him all these years. His gift, paired with the boy's sincere expression, is enough to even make the dragons start bawling in tears. They're equally as grateful for their son, be that as it may. Vogue still thinks it's not enough, as kindness won't cut it against the humans. Humankind is mightier than the dragons, as they boast strength, tenacity, cunningness, and fear, basically all of the things that would make Norn wet as pants. The dragon's desire for him to become a man capable of challenging the evil humans, as well as keeping in line the wicked dragons. That's the kind of strength they hope he masters in order to become a man of great capabilities. But this little needle stick is intimidated by those expectations. If anything, he vows to do his best no matter how hard it may be. As he's leaving on his own, his parents see him off from afar, wishing him well despite their tears as he's journeying ahead. Vog regrets that he's worried about Norin's lack of confidence in his abilities, while his mother wonders if they've been too strict and disciplining Norin is flocking around, while the dragons are wondering if he'll be able to survive on his own. Vogs expresses his own worries for his child. But let's be honest, why would they even send him if they were so worried about it anyway? Norin is torn apart, but ultimately accepts his fate. Despite his fears, he descends down a cliff and decides to enter the human world, traversing in the forest. He remembers the many times he has fended off dangerous monsters here, but now he has to leave everything. The little boy is scared for his life, especially when one monster stomps its foot from behind, startling him. Turns out it's not just one, but a bunch of nasty-looking behemoths, all ready to feast on the little boy. Norin is reduced to a pathetic sight and makes a run for his life. He dodges a column of fire and remembers how he's been attacked by the same creatures an endless amount of times. Yet these dangerous monsters were the closest thing he knew as his friends. Even if they're trying to kill him, Norin is perplexed to find the monsters all gathered up today. He reaches a sudden realization as a battle axe takes a swing from behind. Its powerful swing is blocked with a single hand of this supremely powerful human. Norin is delighted that his so-called friends came to see him off and say goodbyes. He's grateful for them, while the monsters are left stunned from his inhuman strength. Norin apologizes and decides to give everyone a farewell hug. This hug is unlike anything one would wish, for as Norin uses telekinesis to tear the ground apart through his command of dragon language magic. Activating the Earth Dragon's arm, Norin enters into battle. The scene skips over to his parents. Both dragons entrust in his strength and believe that the strength of their child will become so powerful that Norin will surpass even the mightiest of dragons. The boy has equipped his tiny arms with stronger earth gauntlets. Now he can reach all of the monsters for a happy hug, embracing them, while he's afraid of the challenges he'll have to endure. The battle ox reaches for his head and grabs him, which Norin interprets as an act of love and affection. It's really sad how these monsters are trying to kill him, and yet he thinks of them as his friends. In his excitement, he hugs them with his giant-ass arms and knocks them all out. Norin realizes that he might have gone a little overboard with his strength, causing them to crash out. After that, he continues his walk, but then he notices the trembling and scared children of the monsters and goes up to comfort them. But to those tiny little children, they view him as a monster, especially since he's just defeated so many of them, including their family. The raging ox dashes forth, threatening that the dangerous human might hurt its children. Norin senses its outrage and realizes what's causing the issue. He sees the children no differently from himself, as he too was treasured by the dragons. This little guy sparks a brilliant idea. He thinks the best way to take care of his fears of living alone is to simply have someone else protect him and care for him. So now Norin is thinking about finding himself a really strong human, someone powerful enough to look after him. Thinking of his new scheme, Norin is fully confident that he can actually pull it off, that he can actually make everything work in his favor. The confused monster stares at him. Walking away, Norin flocks in the forest, believing that he should go ahead and search for the strongest and most capable human in the entire world and see how they stack up to him. The goal of becoming a great man like his parents wanted stays the top priority, but nobody is stopping him from reaching that goal. In his own way, pondering about his goal, the boy comes to a final decision with a smile carved across his face. He submits that he'll find someone even stronger than his draconic parents and take shelter under them. Norin searches far and deep for the human world. For him, traveling to the human world won't take more than half a day, so Norin starts pedaling his feet on water, running like the Flash, and excited to meet the strongest human in the world. Let's talk about human civilization. Now a pink-haired warrior has just powerfully slain a dragon in cold blood, going full speed across the ocean. Norin finally steps on human land, seeing humans bustling in the city around him. Norin excitedly claims his mark in the human world. He's still fixed on his goal, devoted to finding a human even more powerful than his parents. Using them, Norin will become even stronger than before. However, a despairing observation sets, and he just doesn't know what kind of person could be classified as a powerful or strong human. After all, there's so many around them. Now Norin thinks that whatever person he picks must have a really strong and solid physique from their battles, but it still doesn't explain where he's going to go searching for these guys. Just then a shopkeeper granny calls out for the boy and asks if he's running errands. Norin nervously declines and explains that he's trying to look for a strong human. The granny is impressed with the boy's boldness to say that out in the open. Since she has a caring heart, she's ready to toss him a bunch of mouth-watering bread for 3 silver coins. Norin is salivating and immediately makes the purchase. Since he doesn't know anything about the currency of the country, this little guy whips out so much gold from his bag that it nearly gives the old woman a heart attack. His possession of gold coins catches the eyes of the people surrounding them, the stupid. Norn ends up buying tons and tons of stuff. Thinking that he's cutting himself the sale of his life, he thinks that the humans are being kind when in reality, the guy has been getting ripped off by everyone. Norn bumps into a dude and apologizes for doing. So turns out these are a bunch of lunatics who can't glance over the fact Norn's carrying a ton of food. They want to have a piece of the pie. The boy waits and judges the situation. He senses their dark energy and forms distrust with them, realizing that he's made a mistake seeing that they're also muscular. Norn is afraid that they're too strong for him to handle, but suddenly this makes him happy in a different way. Remember how he decided to use muscular guys as a reference for strong humans? Well, now this idiot is thinking that these two are the people he might be looking for, so he naively tries to hand them some of the bread. Fortunately, the grain makes him sneeze so hard that it completely sends these flying in the air. That's just how powerful this kid is. Both of them are utterly crushed and start regretting ever approaching the kid. They wonder if the boy used magic and threatened to take his life with their swords. Sensing distrust, Norn shrinks and feels afraid of their incoming attacks. Then the boy remembered how his father always advised him to protect himself, nor mustered his courage to cast an attack with his hands. A few seconds later, the landscape is filled with blocks of ice. He went overkill on a bunch of punks. Norn inspects his hands, which have also turned to frost. As for the goons in front of them, they're as good as frozen in ice. Unfortunately, Norn's food was also wasted in the process. Seeing his powers, the pink-haired war warrior emerges from the scene. It turns out that Norn is the only person unaffected by the ice. The ice attack wasn't something he did, rather it was the work of the warrior. With a flick of her fingers, the ice melts. Freeing the runs, they're still as persistent as ever and go as far as to attack the warrior with her back turned. The warrior swiftly reacts with a warning slash, holding the blade in front of him. She didn't even attack, and yet the ground froze behind her. The runs are realizing that they messed with the wrong person. Turns out they around with the Dragon Slayer princess, Tiltu Silva, only to find out the hard way. Just hearing her name is enough to make them panic. Lady Till is the actual definition of a strong human. That's the impression Norn formed shortly after encountering her. Both men apologize for their acts. While she thinks that it was a close encounter, Norn is indebted to the woman and bows in respect because she saved her life. But Tilu is a little confused and claims that the real people in danger were the bullies as well as the people of the city. It seems like she knows that the attack Norn was about to pull off could have threatened the entire city. She realizes that the young boy is unaware of his own powers and takes him for a weird one. Just then another warrior arrives looking for her. Bash is surprised that she rescued a little boy and thinks that she's a softie. Norn curiously asks about their identity. Perplexing the blue-haired warrior, Bash explains that they're the Great Silver Weed Knights, specifically known as the Dragon Slayers. These two monsters are probably the same dragon hunters who injured NNK. Father Tilla gets dragged lazily by Bash as they bid the little boy farewell. However, Norn has already acquired his targets, so he not letting them go so easily. He begs for them to wait. Bash wonders if the kid is infatuated with Tiltu, but Norn merely has a strange request to ask. It's funny, because Bash thinks the scene makes it seem like he's trying to propose to her with what little words he can command. The boy continues. Bash is still hilariously thinking this is a proposal and believes he's about to get rejected hard. Norn, on the other hand, releases his confession, which is a request for Tiltu to raise him. The confession utterly shocks Tiltu and leaves Bash paralyzed in place. As this is happening, a man is secretly eavesdropping on their conversation, and his beastly scales suggest that he might be a dragon or a monster in disguise. The odd request makes Bash break into laughter. He ridicules the little boy's request and helps him out. Bash plays the cool guy and explains how men are supposed to take other people in and shelter for them, instead of being the ones protected. After all, women love a strong man. That's what this clown thinks. As he's living in his own bubble, Tiltu wonders how true that is. In any case, Bash tells the kid to become stronger and reminds him that the only way he can become closer to them is if he can also become a dragon hunter. That would be the ultimate way of proving his strength. Hearing those cold words, Norn stands uncertain. It's as if he's been struck by lightning, but it also helps him become acquainted with the nature of humans. Now Norn has learned a valuable lesson that helping isn't enough when it comes to humans. In order to show them that he's really capable of their time, he has to become even stronger than Tiltu, and he will do so by becoming a dragon hunter. Now that he knows this, Norn finds himself flustered, embarrassed for his bold and straightforward, careless approach. He's at a loss for words in front of the two knights. Norn strongly expresses that he will become even stronger and return to them, but then suddenly a strong wave of dark energy comes from out of nowhere, entrapping them all. Norn recognizes it immediately. It's the scent of a dragon. One monster creeps up from behind right when Tiltyu isn't aware. Norn comes out to protect her by placing himself in danger, allowing Tiltyu the time needed to cast a powerful barrier, binding them in a cubical shoppy that levied Atesh in the air. Unfortunately, Gorn's sword, as well as his prized ancient storage devices, left behind without notice. The barrier floats up in the air, gaining a topical view of the city. Tilt is still casting her spell, infuriated that their assault used a cowardly surprise attack on them. Her top priority is to protect the safety of the city. She checks on Norn, who seems to be doing all right. More importantly, the young boy is dazzled by this human's command of brilliant magic. She's able to create air wall barriers out of the blue, signifying that she's truly a remarkable human. As for the ugly monster who dared to attack them, he was certain that his scheme would work to his benefit. Norn observes that this guy is a humanoid possessing a dragon's tail. This ugly composition can only be done by the illusionary dragon, who reveals its true form shortly afterwards. Since they're trapped in a dimensional barrier, the green dragon becomes whole, and roars. Bash protects the boy, and is pleasantly shocked that the dragon is capable of speaking a human's language. Bash protects the kid and helps him escape the young dragon's wrath. He's able to dodge the dragon's whip and counters with energy blasts of his own, just focusing on surviving. The dragon mocks him for running around and introduces himself properly. Lord Rival is a big-shot descendant of a legendary dragon. Bash basically pulls a who asked and questions what it's doing in this place, surrounded by an air of dark red energy. Lord Rival playfully mocks them and claims that he's here to get his revenge. His main target is actually Tilt, who is responsible for slaying many of the dragon's allies in cold blood. The dragon weeps for its departed comrades, preparing a powerful dragon breath. It releases the beam in order to destroy the cruel human knights who kill innocent dragons without sparing a second thought. Tilt beautifully dodges the beam and replies that his so-called innocent comrades had taken the lives of many humans, which is why she was requested to slay them in the first place. She was just serving the cycle that they initiated. Norn is carefully observing this battle, finally gaining an understanding of what it means to be a part of the human-dragon conflict. But still he struggles with the fact that humans are supposed to be stronger than dragons. Norn wonders if that was the main reason Lord Rival targeted the innocent people in the city, hoping for a chaotic battle and maximizing harm. The little guy decides to act on his own by leaping away from Bash's shoulder. It seems like he's filled with a righteous reason to stand against the dragons despite being raised among their kind with determined eyes. Norn is filled with a new purpose. Lord Rival shows his hypocrisy by calling humans an inferior kind compared to the dragons. He thinks their blood doesn't equal the sacrifices of his own kind. In the same breath, this cruel dragon admits that they were responsible for vanquishing many human countries. He thinks the dragons are merciful for sparing children, and that warriors like Tilyu should be grateful of the fact the Dragon Slayer princess cast an icy response with her sword, expressing her anger towards the idiotic dragon, who fails to see the holes in its own ambitions. Lord Rival lunges forth to finish her off, while Tiltyu stands there happy to now accept that he's nothing more than a selfish dragon. Giving her a reason to act, the Dragon Slayer princess severs the beast a dozen times with her blade, and with that every part of its body begins to pull apart. Tiltyu doesn't feel guilty, not one bit, for defeating the representation of a dragonic scumbag with the battle ending in a single strike. Bash is impressed by the skills of the Dragon Slayer princess. He uses this as a lesson for Norn to understand the true strength of the dragon hunters. However, it seems like the battle isn't quite over. Even after its head is severed, the bastard dragon is still alive. Its head is still insistent on killing them, which makes Bash realize that they've yet to target the creature's core. They tell Norn to get behind, but what's strange is that Norn is ahead of them. The blue-haired knight tries to stop him, reminding him to stay within reason, but NNK fury and anger is so loud that his mere aura is enough to send Bash away. Filled with rage, he stands before the head of the dragon, who is still shouting its insults. Suddenly, terror sets into the creature's eyes as he finally grapples with the boy's true identity. Norn places his fingers near the monster, showing a taste of his power. The beastly dragon succumbs to the fear, realizing that he's confronting the same power as the strongest dragon among even the dragon clan itself. It's the power of the dark dragon coursing through the body of the child. The dragon realizes that this boy shares a connection to the dragons and requests his strength after all with him. On his side, they'll safely be able to kill the knights, but Norn, instead of showing the dragon a gruesome death, simply embraces its face. It seems like things are going well for a moment until Norn slaps him with a really solid strike, shocking both Tillu and Bash with his inhuman strength. Even the drag is shocked, as the strike left a mark on his face. Confused and unable to speak, the dragon questions why he's doing this. Norn answers that he finds it wrong to bully those who are weak. His sense of righteousness tells him that he should always protect the ones who are weaker than them. Of course, it sounds gibberish to the murderous dragon. Norn raises his hand to prepare a final attack, believing that he has no room for forgiveness when the dragon came here, specifically targeting the defenseless human children, as well as the elderly. Casting a magical spell, Norn thinks that it's suitable for Lord Rival to suffer the judgment of his ancestor for his actions. The head of the dragon begs for mercy, knowing that it won't survive in that place, but it's already too late. Norn is already casing dragon language magic. A beam of light strikes down as the dragon's soul is sucked out of the space. He's tossed up in the skies, and there in the aerial prison, he sees the other stone dragons. They merely grab him and take him away, while the dragon is left questioning what kind of magic the boy used. There's just no way a normal human is allowed to, or even capable of, using DR language magic, so it doesn't make any sense. In his parting thoughts, Lord Rival lets out a warning, stating that the dragon god would never allow things to happen this way. Norn is witnessing the scene from the land, hoping that his ancestor will discipline Rival for good. Tillu, on the other hand, is left completely stunned, not knowing what she just saw. Norn tries to explain what he just did, and suddenly realizes that this could be a test from the Dragon Knight. Tillu mentions that he used some kind of strange magic beyond her understanding. Want to know the best part? His magic completely tore apart her dimensional cube. Bash is screaming for his life, while the other two are hovering in the air. They're free falling, and there's no doubt a fall from this distance will prove to be lethal. Norn also realizes that this is troublesome, but Till shields the boy instead of focusing on the other Dragon Knight. They reach close to the land, and just a moment before impact, the Dragon Slayer Princess casts her magic to stop them. Breaking their moment, Bash thinks it's all good, but this idiot wasn't expecting her to release the spell a second later, making him kiss the ground. Dude ends up breaking his nose while the other two are unscathed. Norn realizes that he was the one responsible for causing damage and apologizes for his mistake. Apparently, a lady accidentally throws a bucket of water on him. Norn is glad that Tilt didn't get drenched like he did. The Dragon Slayer Princess glances at him before accepting the fact that she was caught off guard from what happened. Then there's the strange magic. This boy exhibited a kind of magic that she never knew about. Bash, being the numbskull he is, reminds Norn that men aren't supposed to hug other people. Even Bash is confused about the identity of the boy. The Dragon Slayer Princess shoves him away and decides to ask Nor about his name. She observes him with a cold stare, which Bash confirms that the Dragon Slayer Princess has actually taken an interest in the boy. 1,000 questions pop up inside the boy's head. He doesn't get what he did that was so phenomenal that it met her expectations. After all, he's only been up by not meeting her expectations. He wonders if she's pitying him, but he's okay with that as long as it allows him to grow closer to someone who is actually strong. Following that train of thought, Norn comes up with another idea to execute against the human in front of him. He tells her that he desires to become a dragon hunter, even stronger than Lady Tiltu, the mighty Dragon Slayer Princess. Bash has had enough with the boy's antics and calls him out for being ridiculous. Tiltu is on a whole different level and is capable of massacring the true dragons. Hearing this, Norn expresses his shock. Bash confirms that dragons are ranked in different tiers based on their strengths. When it comes to the lesser dragons, they're at the bottom of the hierarchy. They're considered a subspecies of the dragons and take shape somewhat resembling them. Then comes the terror of a young dragon, the monster they just faced, Lord Rival. This level of dragon is powerful enough to wipe out entire troops of soldiers with their strength. The third one on the list of the dragons are the fully mature grown dragons. These creatures boast thick and durable bodies, are capable of casting incredible magic, as well as capable of destroying countries. At last, there is the highest class of dragons, called the true dragons. These are considered unrivaled in their magic, and their mere roar can annihilate islands with ease. Humans can't defeat these dragons normally, and they're classified as natural disasters on their own. Bash even mentions the legendary Dragon's Vogs as well as horror, and claims that Tillu has been responsible for bringing down a powerful true dragon, just like them in the past. He's just out here glazing her strength for being one of the strongest dragon hunters the world has ever seen. Norn is now convinced that she's even more powerful than his parents, such as the strength of the Dragon Slayer Princess. confirming that Bash reminds him just how stupid his offer is. However, this time, Till is the one to stop the blue-haired warrior. From ranting, she wants him to go on ahead and check with the Adventurers Guild. It seems that the warrior has taken an interest in the young boy. She gently places her hand across his face and lovingly tells him that they'll talk later. Norn is left stunned in place. While he's sad that they didn't accept his offer, he's looking forward to meeting Tilu again. He journeys in the opposite direction, reminding them that he'll return to be taken care of. Once he has become strong enough, Tilt waves him goodbye with a smile, while Bash thinks the boy is foolish for thinking that because if he does end up becoming stronger than Tiltu, he won't need the protection of anyone in the world. Norn is still pacing ahead with his new mission of becoming strong enough to become recognized, to become worthy of being taken in. His first objective is to achieve the highest possible title among the adventurers, and for that he's looking forward to stealing the spot of a dragon hunter. The scene shifts to a different location. A red-haired warrior has sensed the scent of a true dragon emerging from the west, the same location where the dragon slayer princess is soon to journey. The man instructs his apprentice to go and hunt the creature. Norn is bulldozing his way past the city to find the Adventurers Guild. This kid is literally going explosively fast with every step to reach his desired destination. Suddenly, a particular sight caught his eye, recognizing A's dragon ornament displayed on the building. Norn wonders if this is supposed to be the guild he's looking for. Excited as a young boy, he opens the doors to unlock his destiny to become a dragon hunter. But when the boy enters inside, he's flashed by a guy he certainly wasn't expecting. Turns out this is supposed to be a tavern instead of the guild. Both men recommend that he go home, since he won't find anything worth his time here. The steam coming from them makes the boy tremble. Norn is reacting negatively to a strong scent knocking his senses around. Norn didn't think about it before, but it turns out humans smell way worse than expected. The lousy man asks if the kid is doing all right. Apparently the stench is so bad that it makes Norn vomit out a ton. Both men are disgusted that he threw up on their faces. Norn realizes that he messed up badly and decides to clean up the mess from his inventory. He retrieves the magical tool capable of cleaning anything in an instant. It's the magic purity napkin, and with one swipe the man is turned to new in mere seconds. It all happened in a few moments before they could even finish their complaining to them. It seems like he never threw up at all. That's how fast he was. Norn decided to make himself comfortable at the tavern. He learns about the receptionist's desk. The red-haired warrior is patiently observing him. The little boy comes up to the bar lady to ask for the receptionist's desk. He loudly proclaims that he doesn't want to become an adventurer and instead aspires to become a dragon hunter. He wants to become just like Tiltu. His ambitious and bold announcement catches the attention of the surrounding adventurers. Shortly after, every single person there roars in laughter. The fact that he's so confident about becoming a dragon hunter, and one that is comparable to Tiltu, is mind-boggling to them. The lady offers him a word of advice. She thinks that he may be overestimating his talents and going ahead of himself. After all, to become a dragon hunter, he first needs to become an adventurer and then gradually build up his rank. Then in order to become a dragon hunter, he'll have to learn from one and then pass strict tests to make himself worthy of the title. Norn is still delighted and thinks he should just become an adventurer first. Then the lady confirms and asks if he's sure about doing that. After Norn confirms that he wants to pursue the job, she hands him out a form to fill out his information. As he's happily filling out the form, the lady is worried that this kid might just end up dead. Right as he's filling out the form, one warrior calls the boy from behind. The red-haired warrior and inquires if he's really looking to become a dragon hunter like Tiltu. The man extends him an offer of a lifetime to become his disciple, as he will train the boy to become just as strong as her guru's extensive offer to Norn surprises everyone, including Norn himself, wielding a giant sword on his back and the perfect brooding body. This man is a steaming powerhouse to be reckoned with, and Norn can sense that from here. So if he does accept his offer to become his disciple, there's 100% chance he will surely become a dragon hunter and achieve his goal. Then he join the other dragon hunters like Tiltu. The boy politely submits himself to Good. The receptionist lady has to warn him that while this guy may be a big shot dragon hunter, he's currently not in service. Guru probably claims that he's powerful enough that he no longer needs to go job hunting. What's more is that this same dude is responsible for training Tiltu, which dazzles the young boy, who is aspiring in her footsteps. As well, some people have a grudge against Good since he left Tiltu to herself and went on his own way. However, Good is in the mood to show Norn what he's truly capable of and tosses a stone in the air. The stone is instantly slashed into a clean cut with his weapon. It may seem like a simple feat, but Norn explains that Good struck the object with divine precision. Norn couldn't have pulled it off himself. The lady is bored to death, because Good is apparently a one-trick pony with his demonstrations. But that doesn't matter since Norn is already prepared to become the retired dragon hunter's disciple before he's even able to finish his sentence. The boy dangles around in happiness, having finally found himself a mentor, but it seems like Good has intentions of his own. He approached the boy for the magical tools he possesses in his arsenal, not to mention the loads of cash he has on his hands. The lady gives him 1 week. When Good asks what she's talking about, she explains that he's got one final week left until his qualification as the dragon hunter will get revoked, which means he's supposed to hunt a dragon, or else he'll lose his special status. Guru is frightened to hear this, but this is the only fair way to treat him. Garud realizes that he's stuck with some real trouble since they're tasked to hunt a dragon within a week's time. He sulks into depression, realizing that the task is impossible since they won't be able to find a dragon in that time span. The lady calls him pathetic for his ACT and decides to pitch in a small favor. She knows a lead on some dragon sightings, which might be able to help him look for them, gaining his interest. She explains that there have been a bunch of creepy rumors roaming around the city, mainly because of wandering zombies. It's only been recent, but in a town close by there have been a number of reports of corpses wandering around and chanting words of misery. They're just like zombies in excruciating pain. Word has it that it is caused by a special dragon, as there have been sightings on the shadow of a winged monster. While these two stories seem to be different, the lady thinks it might be connected. Be that as it may, she's got zero confidence in this lazy fart and thinks he'll flunk the case. But Good is ready to rumble since he's got no choice. He's ready to hunt the dragon and return. That's how the boy met his first teacher. Shockingly, Good claims that he's not the one who's going to hunt the creature, passing on the responsibility to his newest disciple. Out of their Good inquires why he's so interested in becoming a dragon hunter, since kids aren't supposed to have unrealistic expectations set so high. The boy wants to tell him, but realizes that he shouldn't say he's looking for a strong human. Instead, he chooses to lie and use weakness as his reason to become just as strong as Tiltu. It's a claim that Good immediately scouts as a lie and accuses the boy of hiding something from his master. Norn is rather caught off guard by the sheer abilities of this man, as Guru seems to possess the magic eye, a power that is capable of cutting through all deception with no excuse left. Norn is impressed and decides to spill the truth. However, Good has changed his mind and wants the boy to be at ease since he's disinterested. The guy thinks he probably likes Tilt's beautiful looks or something, and he couldn't be more wrong. Norn sees this man as someone possessing an open and considerate heart for others' feelings. Norn addresses his master and inquires if their mission is to go find the dragon. Right away, the man tells him that there's no point rushing the process since they should begin with a strategy. Meeting back, Norn is excited to visit his master's home. The boy is utterly speechless when he sees that Good owns a mansion, but then the funniest part comes. Turns out Good lives in a small house just next to the mansion. The little guy's expectation went to immediately inside. Good has kept his house a stinking mess of a place. Nor is shocked that his master doesn't have a mansion to himself. Garrod decides to use this moment as a very important lesson for the boy and boldly reminds him that money means nothing to a man's strength. Fired up, the retired dragon hunter tasks the boy with his first mission. Norn is as excited and ready to rumble. His first task is to clean the entire place down, and within mere seconds the boy gets it done using his magical napkin. The next thing is hunting for some food, but there are no problems in that department since this kid unleashes a ton of food from his bag. This sleazy dragon hunter is shocked by his incredible agility. He tells Norn to move around a bit so he can judge his movement. Norn goes all Dragon Ball Z with his lightning-fast speed and literally soars in the skies with his wings. This is a problem, and G's resting face is enough to prove that Norn descends with his wings, happy to receive his master's report regarding his performance. Good has a really hard time trying to explain this dude needs a cigar and tries his best to downplay the kid's brilliant performance. He uses every cell in his body not to give him a compliment. Garud asks where he came from, and when Norn explains that he came from the Goliath Island, he spits out his damn drink. Garud is literally sweating bullets now that island is the same place where the legendary dragon hunter Vala faced against the dark dragon Vogs. As well as horror, Norn blurts out that he's actually their kid. With every passing second, Guru's face is turning to he can't find it in himself to stay calm after hearing the absurd words coming out of the boy's mouth. After all, it doesn't make sense that the kids' parents are the strongest dragons in the entire world, but when he sees Vala's legendary holy weapon, the Excalibur, as well as Norn's out-of-the-world abilities, it's not completely unbelievable for Good to accept he has no idea what he should do. He could kill the boy or run away from him, but then this sleazy retired fart decides that he's just stumbled on a lottery ticket. After all, he can use this kid to hunt all of the dragons for him. Without doing any of the work himself, Good plays his part and downplays Norn's jump from earlier, claiming that the boy is still inexperienced in his training. He points to the boy's feet, blaming Norn for killing them. Little Mouse, with a sudden takeoff, rest in peace. Mr. Mouse, you will be missed. Good tells him that he's lacking extreme control of his strength, but he can help the boy achieve that. Trapped by his words, Norn begs for his master's approval in the hopes of receiving his guidance. It's exactly what this redhead bastard wanted, since he's going to use the boy to hunt dragons wherever they are. This way, this idiot will be able to pay off his debt as well as enjoy the reigning wealth. And now let's transition to a different place, a more bloody setting. An innocent man has just been terrifyingly murdered, begging for the last bits of his life. But his assault is a man of principle, and since the man owed him 10 gold coins, he's more than happy to cover the amount by selling the man's organs. What a chilling scene as he collects the man's heart and his storage full of them. This scumbag is hoping to enjoy his business by selling the organs collected. The man realizes that he's approaching death, but it turns out this man is even more of an evil villain than I thought. He's prepared to heal this dude every single time he rips his organs out. That's what he does to prolong the man's endless suffering. With a touch of his fingers, the man's organs have been repaired. How scary that is. As the scene comes to an end, we see many different hostages in the same situation, blood spilled on the floor, all of them begging for the Rela's lease of death. But this mad bastard has no plans of stopping and decides to spill some brand new information on the crew. He shows an illustration of Norn, who is a new kid in town with way too much gold on his hands. Everyone knows the boy became G's apprentice. The man commands his slaves to stand up and target Norn, as this might be their one chance to finally pay off their debts. And that's how these mindless zombies are created, mumbling nothing but the talk of money and their endless pain. This psychopath has created his army, and he's ready to use them to retrieve even more money, even allowing them the chance to kill both Norn and Good if they like. Norn is munching on his food, while Good is left utterly stunned. This kid eats more than Goku does in one sitting. All that food from earlier has been reduced to dust, because Norn has taken an intense liking to human food. Guru, on the other hand, thinks that the kid is severely abnormal for an infinite appetite. He's confident that the kid is capable of beating dragons. The boy's master wants him to work for the food that he just ate, when suddenly they both hear a knock on the door, catching G's attention. Norn doesn't know what's going on, while Good is suspicious. Who could be approaching them at this hour? The naive little boy stupidly approaches the door, while Good warns him. Suddenly the door breaks open by an angry fellow who has been hunting for Garud. Turns out that these guys are the ones this jobless sword clown borrowed his loans from, and they're here for their payment in kind. They also came here because of the loud rumors of his apprentice Norn. They're wondering where the boy is. Unfortunately, Good has to point to the door to show them that they're literally stepping on that kid. Poor Norn is grabbed by the man because he thinks he's found himself a ticket to get his money back. He shakes the little kid, hoping for some coins to pop out. At this point, Norn is observing how this is the second case of a robbery. He's slowly learning how human greed works, and that they'll do anything for money. Norn is tossed aside as they get desperate with their money. Good calls them a bunch of loan sharks, but I can't blame them either. He tells Norn that after borrowing something, one has returned it in kind. The boy agrees, as it's supposed to be an equal exchange. The dragon hunter points to the imbeciles and makes an example out of them. He claims that they always demand people to return the amount with way too much interest. Norn is shocked hearing this, but it turns out these fellows are known as the corrupt lenders, who are exclusively hunting for desperate people like Good. With the power of compound interest, Good acts like he's the one getting inconvenienced by them, gaining Norn's support as he thinks they're the worst people. There are Guru pumps the little boy to go on and get rid of the fools in front of them, since they're supposed to be bad people. But the boy is terrified of what he just heard, since he thinks he's way too weak for strong humans. This kid doesn't know how OP he is. Good plays him like a fiddle and instructs him to just execute a difficult trial. The boy's objective is to make sure he avoids hitting the people G's hiding like a damn princess. While sending this kid to the front lines, he reflects that Norn might actually end up killing these guys if he attacks them, which is why he tasked the boy not to hit the fights about to begin. The three men are done playing around and won't even stop to beat up a kid they unleash there. weapons and take matters seriously the first. Sword approaches Norn as the boy reminds himself not to strike them. He's thinking of a strategy that involves seducing his opponents without striking them. In this brief moment, the weapon is approaching the boy when suddenly an idea clicks in his head. He remembers Guru's advice to control his strength, and with that in mind, he takes a different approach to the fight. The boy uses a tiny amount of dragon language magic and releases a fraction of his Sky Dragon Roar attack against the 3 enemies. But this tiny little breath that you see is actually a misrepresentation of its truth strength. That small roar unleashes the of a beast swindling one of the men several feet away and leaving a giant hole in the house. You can already see the other 2 guys just looking at each other with the most what the just happened face I've ever seen. Norn asks for his performance report, and Good is glad to find that he didn't kill the guy. His master thinks he did well, but prefers a gentler approach. Norn, now pumped up with the knowledge of what he has to do, immediately gets to work with the other 2 scoundrels. Only voices of agony escape the house as both men are launched outside. Norn stands there happy as he can ever be, while Good is a little terrified of his strength. The boy had never expected to use his strength in such a way before. He already knows that G's magic eye ability makes him immune to deception, which is why he didn't pull any funny tricks. Norn believes that he's become stronger as a result of today's training. While his master addresses the cleanup required after the mess, the leader of the men, he just took down his back for more, begging them to just return the money, because if they don't, a specific person will actually come and kill him for good. It's so bad that he's practically begging Guru to return the money. Despite his reasons, the jobless dragon hunter claims that he doesn't really have money to pay off the debt. In this situation, Norn decides to take a stand and helps out the poor man by handing him a bunch of gold coins from his bag. This shows that the boy has a kind heart, but maybe to a naive extent. Guru is demolished because he's handing out so much money. Norn did hand him the gold coins, but he wants to know what he'll do with the amount. The man expresses that he's happy to just repay his own debts, and after that he'll use the rest of it for his family. Norn asks for further clarification, so the man tells him that he's got enough now to buy food and toys for his family. Through this exchange, Norn has come to a greater understanding of how humans operate. As he stands before the desperate man, the boy innocently asks if humans are capable of gaining one's affection with money. This hits the man really deep in his emotions as he feels a sense of dread. It's kind of an enlightenment, because the boy made him ponder what truly matters isn't money. He decides to return the amount and claims that he's in no shape to see his own son in such a way. That's why he wants to pay off his debts himself, and then he'll prioritize spending more time with his family. Excited to hear that Norn wishes the best for him, he has come to understand how it's difficult to support a family. Meanwhile, Good, being the sleazy son of a he is, sneakily tries to steal the coins before Norn catches him. Good is drawn to the view outside, bearing a serious expression on his face. He tells the boy that they've got more to deal with since these guys have a really scary boss that governs them. The retired dragon hunter is hoping to bring justice to this world and expunge evil from this world by subduing this man. Galatia is the man he's talking about, the same guy who was torturing his organ slaves earlier. Guru's new mission is to take this guy down, and his support is also ready to rumble. Well, it's not like the guy has a sense of justice or anything. He's just looking for a way to cut his debts for good. Good tells the boy about Galatia headquarters. Norn wonders why they aren't working to eradicate the dragons right now, since that's supposed to be their main goal. Guru explains that humans are sometimes even worse than dragons with their evil methods, and that's how they march their way inside, with an explosive entrance inside theirs. Already visitors expecting them, all of them working under Galatia, they immediately recognize that these guys are supposed to be their targets, especially Norn. Like a moth to a flame, they all come rushing to attack, believing that they found themselves a lottery ticket to pay their debts. Guru happily shoves his disciple ahead to take care of the mess on his own. Norn regulates some of his powers and hears from his master how he still isn't supposed to attack a single one of these men. Norn accepts the fact that he has to undergo training and become even stronger no matter the difficulty. So now comes the boy's approach, surrounding himself with the power of dragon language magic and using a wind flow disruption technique. This is a special technique that governs the flow of wind around the body. The wind controls the body and manipulates it with a turbulent flow, tossing away any attacker Guru thinks he's still going way too heavy on his attacks. So Norn is happy to control his strength even more. One of the goons comes up to face him with a magic tool made from a dragon's hair. It's called the Black Rope Fist, and it specializes in dealing heavy bouts of damage. The psychopath is glazing himself that he'll go easy and everything, But it turns out he's just a talker, because he also gets manhandled with just one attack. After this, Norn concentrates on holding back. Even more, the rest of the men are stupid enough to attack him. He swiftly handles them with a few flicks passing by each man. And calculating a precise strike, even when the swords are dead in his face, the boy approaches them with patience and calmly destroys every single one of them. But during this, Norn messed up, and while he did take care of each man, he found himself with a severe terminal case of a loud tummy ache. Turns out the kid had way too much human food, and now he's paying the price. Guru comes rushing, thinking that something happened to the boy. Norn looks like a helpless puppy holding his stomach. Hearing so much noise, Galatia decides to make his entry. At last, his dark looming figure stands before them. He gleefully asks if Good has come here to repay his debt. In response, the loud warrior shouts at him and claims that he won't be paying the interest. Galatia argues that he isn't in the wrong, as it was all written in the contract they agreed upon. I believe him, because Guru seems like a dude who empties his bank account and then checks it afterwards. Norn sees Gala and smells a strange scent. Gala is a little annoyed that they went as far as to hurt his men. The freak show from before can barely speak, but his boss is happy to heal him and free him from the pain. The dark magic ends up revitalizing his subordinates, but the process looks inhumane to Good. Norn doesn't understand why it's wrong, since he's using healing magic to help others. However, even the naive boy can sense that something about his healing is different. Just then, the boy experiences yet another pain in his stomach. He apologizes to his master for a bathroom break and dashes away, leaving Good in the lurch against the main boss. Galatia isn't done with him, however, and reminds the warrior that he should return what he's owed. Then he tasks all of his men to rise up. Good has an arrogant attitude, because he thinks none of these guys will be able to stand after getting their ass kicked. But even he's shocked as they're all slowly rising in pain. They rush to attack their target, while Good realizes just the kind of man Galatia is, who is so unforgiving that he doesn't even forgive his own people for working under him. Their skin turns a feverish pink as they beg the pain to stop, and yet they can't out of loyalty. Good realizes that he's really got to fight in this battle, and calling for Norn isn't working either, since the boy is taking it from really far away. Still hyping his master up for his fight, Good pulls out his giant sword to demolish these freaks, while Galatia mocks them for being useful toys. Good tries to stop them as Norn is worried for his master. The subordinates all pounce on this guy, making Norn worry for his master, and he can't even join the fight because of how bad his condition is. He decides to offer his support just in case his master needs it. Casting the dragon language magic, the boy sends a wave of red underneath the men before engulfing them in a sea of mud. This attack is called the Mud Dragon Mount, and it has successfully trapped these guys in one place. Norn thinks this much should be enough. From his side, the little guy is still suffering from that diabolical diarrhea as he puts up a thumb to show that he's done his part. Good is happy and prepares to target Galatia, who no longer has the support of his men. Galatia is pleasantly surprised to discover just how powerful this little boy is. One of his men is thanking his boss for saving his life, but it turns out Galatia isn't that kind. Instead, he's looking for an immediate repayment with the man's body. This guy literally rag dolls him like a damn weapon, waving a literal human as if he were a sword. Guru grows sick of his methods, while Galatia flings the human around like a nunchuck, calling him nothing more than a weapon. Guru dodges his attacks one after the other as Galatia explains just how durable humans really are in their bodily compositions. Their bones, paired with flesh, makes a perfect organism which won't break with ease, and if they do, he can always mold them back into place, just like how he's doing with his current toy. He releases the human like a projectile, while Guru blocks his attack, realizing that this guy is a real damn villain instead of being a shark boss. What's truly surprising is that he seems to be an opponent not even Good can win against. In fact, he's clinging to the hope Norn will come back soon. After all, he doesn't want to imagine the nightmares he'll go through if Galatia gets a hold of his body. The fear succumbs him, but the courage of a dragon slayer keeps him tied. Guru knows he has got to hunt the dragon, so he can't give up. Galatia happily tosses the human away, bored with him already. Next, he grabs another one as a replacement. Guru is mustering up his courage, and all for what? This guy just runs away like a clown, surprising even Galatia. Guru doesn't care for the human live that are begging for his help. He thinks that they have to answer for themselves by taking on the debt, deeming them as people who are worth less than saving. Guru's hypocritical monologue is interrupted by a flying human coming at him full speed. His brain is telling him to just dodge no matter what, but he realizes that if he dodges, he'll leave the innocent man in even more pain. so he tanks the full blow of Gala's attack, saving the human's life in the process at the cost of injuring himself. Good releases him, as the man endless expresses his gratitude to his savior. Remembering his old days, Good has reawakened his fighting spirit. With his trembling hands, he takes out his heavy blade and plunges it into the ground. Remembering that he's a dragon slayer, Norn's stomach is back to normal, while Galatia has a really funny reaction to this. He's just laughing at how weak this dragon slayer is, even mocking him for falling unconscious. Galatia transforms and mocks the human for thinking they could hunt dragons. He's decided to go full force and rip the weakling of a dragon slayer apart. As he's about to attack him, Norn steps forth with a powered-up fist and shoves it right in Gala's body with so much force that he's nuked away. Norn still has a positive impression of his master and tells Good that he's all fine now. NNK attack just now has left a hole in the wall, going as far as to put down trees in the forest just to absorb the impact. Galatia from afar casts dragon language magic of his own, making Norn realize that they might be in trouble. Galatia activates Lizard Iron attack that morphs the surrounding humans into stone. Even Norn's body is taking the effect. Galatia has revealed his full transformation and claims that anyone who comes in contact within his sight gets turned to stone. Basically, it's an overpowered version of Medusa's magic. Since you don't have to make eye contact, the stone dragon stands before Norn and was the real answer for the strange scent he found earlier. Norn turns to his master and realizes that this dumb bastard got turned to stone as well. What's really funny is that Norn thinks Good allowed himself to get hit on purpose so the boy could have the chance to fight instead of him. As he's expressing his gratitude for his master, the Saint Dragon whips him away with a powerful attack. Galatia thinks he's quite strong for a human, forcing himself to use dragon language magic. As for Gala's subordinates, some of them are experiencing the horror of his real face. They're hoping he'll fix the petrification spell, but this sadistic dragon isn't playing around. He smashes their bodies, believing they're all useless to him. Anyway, Norn is still down while this is happening. He hears the cries of the people and questions Galatia why he's inflicting so much pain to his allies. The cruel, merciless stone drag couldn't give a crap about what he thinks. He calls the boy naive, forever thinking that a dragon like him could ever accept a lower-class species. To him, they're just ants. Basically, Norn understands now as Galatia comes rushing forth to attack him again. He's been meaning to ask the boy a question regarding the recent rumor of a boy being raised by the legendary dragons. His fist connects with Norn's face as he thinks that their active concern for the human child has been nothing but a display of their pet mentality. The boy ignores the physical pain of the punch and instead digests what he just heard. Galatia strikes him down again, reminding the boy that his parents just found a pet to play around with and took him in because of their personal interest. He also thinks that their infatuation with him eventually faded once he grew up, which led the dragons to discard the boy. Those exact thoughts are conflicting with NNK mind as he reminisces about the past. The stone dragon sharply manipulates N's understanding of the story and continues bashing the boy with his powerful punches. By now, Norn is on the ground, defeated. The stone dragon doesn't even want to deal him the killing blow and walks away. However, when Norn stands up again, Galatia is agitated and in the mood to kill him for good, unleashing a ferocious punch filled with his belief of the dragon's superiority. Galatia lunges to finish off Norn, but this time something happens. The boy blocks the attack, demanding that the bashful dragon shut his insolent mouth. For the first time, we see an angry Gorn, and when he releases his punch, it only takes one to send the dragon away. Galatia is surprised that he's wrapped in a weird magic barrier. The barrier sent him flying forward with momentum out of his control. Now Galatia really doesn't have a way to dodge, so he chooses to prioritize blocking with his body. Norn, on the other hand, filled with his anger, prepares a devastating punch and sends it roaring with his full might. Thank you for watching this video. See you in next manhwa.